All right, this segment is focused on our emergency response procedures when it comes to an active shooter or a threatening situation in our school. So we follow the framework called ALICE, right? We've heard this. You've been practicing it since middle school if you came to Nature Hill or Silver Lake, right? But to get all on the same page, right, the important thing is, what does ALICE stand for?
Alert.
Okay, alert.
I don't know the L.
It's okay, this is
I don't know
natural.
what the L is.
Do you remember any other letter?
E is
Counter.
evacuate.
Counter.
Oh, yeah.
And evacuate.
Evacuate.
Information.
You got it. Information.
Yeah.
Oh, listen.
It's a good guess. Listen is a really good guess.
Look.
Look.
Oh,
Lockdown.
Oh.
Okay. Alert, lockdown, information, counter, evacuate. It's a nice way to remember what to do. Sometimes it almost feels like the L and the I should be switched, but then it would be Alice. Let's not get confused. All right. So first thing is that will always happen in an emergency situation is there will be an alert, a situation that will raise your information and radar that something's wrong. What are some things that might be something that might trigger a warning to us that something's not right?
An intruder.
An intruder. How would we know someone's an intruder?
If they don't have a visitor pass.
Oh my gosh, they don't have a staff ID or a visitor badge. Excellent, perfect. There you go. So somebody that's not identified or kind of looks unfamiliar to you, you guys have the same routines and kind of work around and work and go to your different classes and that person, I've never seen that person before, right? These are all things that might be like, this is interesting. What are the alerts you might hear? You know, loud noises, right? It could be a shotgun. It could be, you could see something on the floor, a weapon, whatever it might be, right? Something that's just not right is something that would raise your alarm. You'd be alert to where and what's going on. You would want to then also provide immediately information, right? Whether you got that information through the emergency call buttons, you call 911, you scream for help, right? Someone's got a gun, right? You want to get out as much information as possible when there's an alert or something there. Now, if it's something like somebody not wearing an ID badge, swing by the office and let me know, or stop one of us in the hallway or tell a teacher, and they'll help you navigate through that. So we have the alert, we gather information or we get information, and then from that information we can do three things. We can lock down, meaning we barricade the room. We don't let anybody in. The alert is happening out there and close by. We counter, meaning the alert's close by, and we do something to disrupt the intruder, or we evacuate and we get out of here and we go to our rally points. All right, so let's kind of break that down. All right, so when we are responding to an emergency situation or an intruder, the first option we got is lockdown. All right, so lockdown, pretty simple. When do you guys think we might lock down in an emergency situation?
If the intruder is close enough that you can't evacuate.
Exactly. So let's go back to maybe our first video around the emergency foundations. We were in room 167. If we know the intruder was in room 165, we would lock down, right? But if we had word that the intruder was in the Oconomowoc Arts Center and we're in Lower South, we'd want to get out as quick as possible. So think about locking down and talk as a class a little bit about what you might lock down with. There's some things to be aware of. We're in a conference room because the reality is you might not be in a classroom when this is happening, right? So be aware of the door you have. So does the door to your classroom open in, or does it open out into the hallway? If it opens in, the barricade's pretty simple. If it opens out into the hallway, that's a whole different type of barricade situation where you would need to make sure you pull the door so that it can't be open from the outside. All right. Other things you might want to be aware of. Are there multiple entrances into your room? We're in a conference room. We're good. We don't have another door where someone could come in, right? So when we lock down, we don't have to worry about getting the back door. So back to Miss Dorn's room, 167. They have that second door to the copy machine. A lot of our science rooms across center campus have multiple entrances into the room. You're just not locking down the door into the hallway. You're locking down all entrance points into your room. In this particular room, we want to maybe shut our blinds, maybe we turn our lights off, right? Those types of things so no one can see them. Any other situation with lockdown you can think about? Any rooms I'm not thinking of?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
What
let's
would you
just,
do
yeah.
if you were in a cafeteria?
Yeah, good question. I was just about to say. And the other reality is you might be in a cafeteria. That might be hard to lock down. That might be a situation where you're just evacuating, right? The field house is hard to lock down. There's so many doors and entrances, right? That might be a situation where you're evacuating or countering. It's a good question. Counter. This is actually the scariest one because this means
Intruders in your room.
intruders in your room, close by. You're in the hallway with them in Raccoon Runway, right? You're in the cafeteria with them and they're near you. So what do we gotta do? We gotta counter. Now, we interpret counter in many different ways, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that we start to attack this person and bite this person and take them down. Certainly some of us may have that instinct and be able to do that. But there are other things we can do to counter if we're in that situation. Can you think of any?
Flicker the lights.
Oh my gosh, yes. Right? Anything to disrupt the intruder. What else?
Throw something at them.
Throw something. Good.
Scream.
Scream. I was going to say loud noises, right? Right? Banging on the table. Anything that would disrupt their pattern and routine or their thought process, right? I always compare it to this. Maybe you remember this from Nature Hill. I always said, think of it. When you're at the Badger basketball game, or the Bucks, right? When Giannis is shooting, we're quiet, right? But when the other team's shooting, we want to make as much noise and be as loud as possible, right? So that we interrupt their flow of their free throws. It's just an easy way to think of it when you're in an emergency situation. I'm going to tell you something, right? Countering and talking about countering is easier said than done. When you find yourself in an emergency situation, you really have no idea how your body's going to respond, right? So help others around you. Be aware. You might freeze if you notice that you're in this emergency situation in the cafeteria. Be aware of how others are reacting around you, and don't be afraid to encourage them to do something or prompt them around some of these pieces of information that you know. E. All right, evacuate. This is, in an emergency situation, the position you hope to be in that you can get safely out. So, when we evacuate, we get out any door that we possibly can get out, right? And we go to what would be a safe space. So, first safe place that we can think about going in an emergency situation is what we call a rally point. Do you guys remember any of our rally points?
The field.
Rec Stadium and softball field. These are starting points, right? If you leave the building in an emergency situation, you can just think in your head, like, I should go to Rec Stadium or I should go to the softball fields. They're designated by classroom, but let's face it, in an emergency situation, we're looking to just get out. Now, I'm bound to get 400 emails from people saying, in an active shooter situation, I don't think it's safe to go to Ruck Stadium. You're right, it's not. But you go towards Ruck Stadium, and there will be somebody there from law enforcement or an adult in a green vest telling you exactly what to do. And it might be, hey, we're going to walk down Bolson, and we're going to go to a further place that's safer. Right? So you're going to those locations not to necessarily sit and wait, but to get information on what to do next. So that's where you go. Now, there may be a situation where, go back to our fire drill, right? If there was actually a fire here, that fence that we tried to practice on earlier is not far enough away. We may say, like, there's a fire in the building, we need you to go to one of your rally points, right? And that's where you go and assemble with your class and take attendance and all that jazz. All right, any questions about evacuate?
No.
If you think of it, you can certainly grab a personal belonging. I would not weigh yourself down with a big backpack and those types of things. Maybe if you can grab your phone, it's not a, wait, let me get my backpack and my Chromebook before we evacuate. Just get out as quickly as you can. That's Alice. That was a very simple, quick overview of what to do, but essentially gives you the foundation of how to respond in an emergency situation. We are alerted of information, we get information, and then we act on that information, right? We lock down, we counter, we evacuate. We lock down if the emergency situation and intruder is close. We counter if they're right near us. And we evacuate if it seems to be a distance safe away, or if I'm in a large space and I try to get out as quick as possible, like the OAC, the field house, whatever it might be. Here's the reality is, you just gotta make a decision, trust your instinct, and go with it, and see where it ends up, and an adult will help you navigate the next steps. We're here to help each other. We'll practice this twice in our school year. We'll do one in October, and then we'll also do one in the spring as well. And Alice will help us think about how we might apply some of these principles in an emergency situation.